The CEO of Disney just blew the gaffe, big time. But will Ron DeSantis avail himself of the opportunity that just dropped into his lap? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. While former President Donald Trump traveled to New York for arraignment on a sham case, another bombshell dropped in Florida. Maybe, because I still suspect that Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida is running a dog and pony show while preparing to admit what everybody knows, that he is running for president while ignoring Florida's Resign to Run law. But if he ever has to sacrifice the scapegoat, Bob Iger, CEO of Disney, gave him an excuse this week. In an earnings call, Iger complained that DeSantis was punishing Disney for exercising freedom of speech. But in the process, he admitted what everyone knew about his company, which is that Walt Disney World has been a self-governing local unit in all but name, and it wasn't supposed to be that way. In saying that out loud, Iger gave DeSantis the evidence he would need to make Disney a public example. I'm going to go into what Iger was foolish enough to say, the point everybody else missed, and some relevant history. But first, I do want to shout out to the prime sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views. Link in the description. And be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of great merchandise there, especially this t-shirt that I have chosen for today, which shows the name Mickey in Walt Disney's original printing style and its reflection in water, which reads, "Wicked," because the House of Mouse has indeed turned wicked. I mean, Mickey might as well carry a trident right now. And if anyone in the Disney Communications Department thinks that's a horrible thing for me to say, I challenge them to leave me a comment. One more thing. If you like what you're about to hear, you can like this video. You can also click the bell icon to get a notice every time I come out with a new one. In fact, do you see the new icon, the heart shape with the US dollar sign in it? That's the super thanks icon. If you really want to keep these videos coming, click that and leave me a tip. Any currency will do, so long as it's legal tender. And now, first, a definition. Every quarter, a publicly traded joint stock corporation or group must call a meeting of shareholders. But in this era of the virus that shall remain nameless, shareholders no longer convene in person. Nobody wants to convene in person, bunch of fraidy cats. Instead, the chief executive officer hosts a conference call, the earnings call. On Monday, April 3rd, Bob Iger convened the earnings call. Before then, Governor DeSantis had ordered a criminal investigation into a last-minute declaration by the outgoing board of the Reedy Creek Improvement District. Walt Disney World sits within that district, which supersedes Orange and Osceola counties and provides infrastructure and other government services to Walt Disney World and some related installations. They even provide police and fire departments. Last year, Governor DeSantis signed into law an anti-grooming bill, the Parental Rights in Education Act. You might have heard people call it the Don't Say... never mind. Bob Chapek, then CEO of Disney, protested and apparently doubled down on content that advertises alternative lifestyles as the new normal. So Governor DeSantis had the Florida legislature legislate away autonomous development districts like Disney's Reedy Creek Improvement District. As part of the transition from Reedy Creek to a new Central Florida Tourism Oversight District, DeSantis appointed a new board of supervisors. That happened in February of this year. Lo and behold, on March 29th, that board discovered that the outgoing board had signed over to Disney full autonomy for property development effectively in perpetuity. Actually, you know what they said? They said these new agreements terminate 21 years after the death of the last survivor of the descendants of King Charles III of the United Kingdom. Can you beat that? Well, Governor DeSantis had to either admit that his relationship with Disney's top brass was a dog and pony show or do something. He did something. He called for a criminal investigation. To Florida's Chief Inspector General, DeSantis wrote, and I quote, "These collusive and self-dealing arrangements aim to nullify the recently passed legislation, undercut Florida's legislative process, and defy the will of Floridians," unquote, Governor DeSantis. Well, naturally, investors, especially institutional investors, wanted to ask Iger, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot was going on? In answer, Bob Iger lamented that the state of Florida was punishing Disney for its protest of the anti-grooming bill. But the way he lamented it caused several influencers listening in on their channels to scream in astonishment. I quote, "The company took a position on pending Florida legislation, and while the company might have not handled the position it took very well, the company has a right to freedom of speech just as individuals do," unquote, Bob Iger. Whoa! Two influencers listening to that started screaming right there. OMG, is he really gonna say that? Did he just conflate Reedy Creek and Disney? Ron DeSantis just poured himself a drink. Now, a more sober-minded influencer, an attorney who calls himself Legal Mindset, said that Bob Iger clearly said too much. The new law on improvement districts first applies to all of them. Second, it applies to something called Reedy Creek Improvement District and not to Walt Disney Parks and Resorts. Reedy Creek and Disney are supposed to be separate entities. Reedy Creek has in fact issued some tax-free bonds on this assumption. Iger just violated that assumption. And I'm hanged if he didn't dig himself in deeper. Quote, "The governor got very angry with the position Disney took and then decided to retaliate against us, including the naming of a new board to oversee the property and the business. In effect, he sought to punish a company for the exercise of a constitutional right," close quote. Legal Mindset jumped on that. He said the CEO of Disney just potentially confessed to fraud. Governor DeSantis could now move to invalidate those tax-free Reedy Creek bonds. If so, that matter will reach the Florida Supreme Court and perhaps the United States Supreme Court. I have a link in the description to Legal Mindset's video in which he takes apart that particular statement by Bob Iger. You will hear two other influencers screaming their heads off at this incredible folly. And Legal Mindset laying everything out, including his own experience with a case involving the villages, making the exact same mistake and paying dearly for it. This could be devastating to Disney, but the media all miss this. Before I tell you why this is so devastating, I want to shout out to a sponsor who can really help you through the economic storms to come. That sponsor is oursilverlines.com. Do you feel like you're working harder for your money just to get by? You are not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, and unexpected changes in life have left many families struggling over the past few years. Collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges. But if you're like me many years ago, you don't know where or how to start. Our Silver Lines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are learning the secrets to creating and protecting true wealth by collecting precious metals. Whether you just want to collect rare and unique coins or take advantage of the business opportunities this company provides, either way, they can help you learn to live an exceptional life. Visit oursilverlines.com to learn how you can build a legacy for your future. Now, the Disney media arm, and station WESH-TV, Channel 2, NBC, Orlando, Florida, and dozens of outlets praised Iger for, in their view, standing up to a governor running roughshod over First Amendment rights. Rights to self-expression and self-identification, blah, blah, blah. And they all missed the point. Not one of them picked up on the conflation of Disney and Reedy Creek. Or maybe they took for granted that the Florida legislature had fixed it so that the law would allow it. Spoiler alert, they did no such thing. Now let me remind you of some history, which I've mentioned before. Walt Disney, the founder, proposed to build a new modern city, the Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow, or EPCOT. In essence, it would have been the original 15-minute city or Agenda 21 or Agenda 2030 city before they hadn't even heard of those concepts. Old Walt even made a film, the EPCOT Film, to explain the concept. I have a link in the description to where you can watch the EPCOT Film on YouTube. The Disney Company bought lots of land in Orange and Osceola counties in Florida to build that city. And then Walt Disney died. And his dream of a utopian city died with him. His successors built theme parks instead, including the EPCOT Center with its Future World and World Showcase pavilions. But they kept the Reedy Creek Improvement District. Ever since, Reedy Creek has been the glove and Disney the hand inside the glove. And everybody knew it, but nobody ever said it out loud. When Governor DeSantis proposed to revoke improvement districts like Reedy Creek, he didn't say anything about the hand-in-glove arrangement either. But neither he nor anyone else ever dreamed that a Disney CEO would be stupid enough to blurt it out. But blurt it out he has in front of millions of witnesses all over the country. Wow. Just wow. The next obvious question is, what will Governor DeSantis do about it? As Legal Mindset pointed out, Bob Iger has very likely confessed fraud. And he confessed it while Florida's Attorney General is already investigating Disney for its shenanigans with the outgoing Reedy Creek Board. So if DeSantis is sincere, or if he, not being sincere, needs a scapegoat to upstage Donald Trump while that worthy plays a stupid, idiotic, and crazy Manhattan DA like a fiddle, well, now he has one. DeSantis has the perfect opportunity. Disney has lost the trust of parents of small children everywhere, and those of us who remember the old Disney. And DeSantis' tame legislature has already introduced a bill to repeal Florida's Resign to Run law. So why aren't we hearing more about this? Why hasn't the governor yet announced that Florida's investigation is going into a new direction? The Attorney General and Solicitor General should be filing a lawsuit to invalidate the Reedy Creek bonds and demanding that Disney pay up. Now, today, this instant! Why aren't they? Or do you mean to tell me that Governor DeSantis doesn't get it yet? You want to know what I wonder? I wonder whether DeSantis and Iger are merely shadowboxing at one another. Maybe we're seeing more of the dog and pony show that Laura Loomer has long suspected the governor of putting on. And hey, Laura Loomer, I shout out to you. I agree with you. And I urge you to look into this. Look up that influencer, Legal Mindset, and check out the law. Haven't I observed before that Ron DeSantis seems to talk a good game, but does not get results? Well, now he can get results and win back the sympathy he has lost. And if he doesn't, maybe he is crazy, as I have suspected he might be. Links to the description of the article, to the Legal Mindset video detailing how Iger blew the gaffe, to the EPCOT film, to my Declarations of Truth Twitter account, and to Conservative News and Views. I've also left links to the awesome CNAV Store and to oursilverlines.com, as I also mentioned. You know already about how to like a video, turn on notifications, and leave a tip. And on the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link to my channel and links to my Disney Decline Saga playlist and both those videos I mentioned from Legal Mindset and the EPCOT Film. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.